Imagine a man so small that he could barely be seen above the pulpit. Imagine a man who was frail, sick, twisted by arthritis, and who spoke quietly, almost in a whisper. But imagine this too, that same small man had a power before which even the strongest trembled. He knew your secrets before you spoke them. He knew your sins before you knelt. This is the story of Saint Leopold Bogdan Mandić, the giant of Padua, a saint who read human souls like an open book. Before we embark on this incredible journey, I am interested. Have you ever heard of this saint and his miracles before? Write to me in the comments. I would love to hear your stories. In a small, cold room in Padua, which in winter was an icy cave, and in summer a scorching furnace, he sat. 40 years, every day, 10 to 15 hours a day. He did not give fiery speeches. He did not build cathedrals. He did not travel the world. His world was reduced to 2 square meters of a wooden box. But in those 2 square meters, greater miracles happened than on the world's biggest stages. People would enter broken, burdened with sins they dared not confess to anyone, and they would leave free, weeping with joy, because he, Father Leopold, already knew everything. Why are you silent? He would gently ask the penitent who was struck dumb with shame, are you afraid to say what I already see in your heart? God has already forgiven you. Just say it. How was that possible? How did this humble friar from the Bay of Kotor, whom many considered insignificant and incapable of great things, become one of the greatest confessors in the history of the Church? The story of Saint Leopold is a story of strength hidden in weakness, of God's grace that breaks down all barriers of logic. It all begins on the 12th of May, 1866 in Herceg Novi, in the beautiful Bay of Kotor. In the family of Petar Mandić and Dragica Karavich, the 12th child is born. They name him Bogdan, a name that means God-given. No one then could have guessed how much that name would mark his destiny. His family, although of noble origin, lived modestly, impoverished by historical turmoil. Little Bogdan was a sickly child, of short stature, fragile health. He could not run with other children, he could not show physical strength, but he had something else. He had a heart that burned. Even as a boy, he spent hours in prayer. His sister told how they would often find him hidden in the corner of the room, with a rosary in his hand, completely lost in conversation with God. But the key moment happened when he was only 8 years old. One day, his sister unjustly scolded him for some trifle and took him to the priest to be punished. The priest was strict, yelled at the boy, and made him kneel in the middle of the church. Little Bogdan, although innocent, obeyed. But in that moment of humiliation, a great decision was born in his small heart. When I grow up and become a priest, he told himself, I will never be like that. I will be gentle. I will understand human misery. I will be a doctor, not a judge. At 16 years old, guided by that inner voice, Bogdan makes a difficult decision. He leaves his beloved home, his family, his see, and goes to Italy, to the Capuchin seminary in Udine. Can you imagine the courage of that tiny boy, barely 1 meter and 35 centimeters tall, setting off into the world alone? He entered the order of friars minor Capuchin, the order of Saint Francis, the order of poverty and humility. There he takes a new name, Leopold, a name that means brave lion. What irony, some would say, a lion in the body of a lamb. But the spiritual battles he would fight would require courage greater than that of military commanders. During his studies in Padua and Venice, Leopold was a brilliant student. He loved books, he loved philosophy, he loved theology, but his greatest love was the unity of Christians. Growing up in Boka, where Catholics and Orthodox lived side by side, he dreamed of the day when all would be one. He made a vow to dedicate his entire life as a sacrifice for the return of the Eastern Brothers to the fold of the Catholic Church. He dreamed of being a missionary in the East, of preaching, traveling, reconciling nations. But God had a different plan. His health was too fragile for strenuous missionary journeys. He had a speech impediment. He stuttered when excited, which made him unsuitable for a preacher. His superior said, "No, Brother Leopold, your mission is not in the East. Your East is here, in Padua. Your pulpit will be the confessional." For someone who dreamed of great deeds, this could have sounded like a death sentence. To be locked in a small room, listening to other people's sins, day after day, year after year. But Leopold accepted. "Let God's will be done," he said, and so began his prison, which would become the gate of heaven for thousands of people. Soon, word spread about the little friar who confessed differently than others. While other priests of that time were often strict, imposed heavy penances, and scolded sinners, Father Leopold would welcome them with open arms. "Please, sir, please sit down," he would say with respect even to the greatest sinner. His gentleness was scandalous to some. They accused him of being too lenient, of handing out absolution like candy. Even his brother friars sometimes gossiped about him. "That Brother Leopold forgives everything," they said, and he, with a smile that hid deep wisdom, would answer them, "If I am too gentle, then it is because I learned from the Lord. Was it not He who dined with sinners? If I am guilty of too much kindness, then I must complain to Him who gave me that example, and He showed me the wounds on His hands." But it was not just gentleness that attracted people. It was the inexplicable. Many witnesses confirmed that Father Leopold knew their sins before they spoke them. A famous doctor from Padua came to him, more out of curiosity than faith. He knelt and was silent, not knowing what to say. Father Leopold looked at him and calmly listed all the sins he had committed in the last 10 years, with exact dates and circumstances. The doctor turned pale. "How do you know that?" he asked with a trembling voice. Father Leopold just pointed his finger upwards. The doctor left that room a different man. On another occasion, a young man came who intended to hide a grave sin. He thought, "If I don't say it, no one will know." As soon as he entered, Father Leopold said to him, "Friend, why do you want to lie to the Holy Spirit? That sin from last Friday, the Lord wants to forgive you for that too." The young man burst into tears. There was no condemnation in Leopold's voice, only endless sadness that man fears God's mercy. "God is the doctor and the medicine," Leopold would say. "Why hide wounds from the doctor?" His small confessional was not only a place for forgiving sins, but also a place of physical healings. People came with incurable diseases, with tumors, with disabilities. Father Leopold would listen to them, lay his deformed hands on them and say, "Have faith. Faith has saved you." And miracles happened. One woman, whom doctors told she could never have children, came to him in tears. He smiled at her and said, "Go home and prepare the cradle." A year later, that woman brought a healthy boy for Father Leopold to bless. He often took upon himself the penances of his penitents. When someone confessed grave sins for which they should do great penance, Father Leopold would say, "For penance pray one Our Father, and I will take the rest upon myself." And he took it. He spent nights in prayer and fasting, offering his physical pains for the souls he had confessed. His arthritis progressed. His hands were cramped and painful. He walked with difficulty, leaning on a cane. He had esophageal cancer, which made swallowing difficult. But never, absolutely never, did he refuse anyone who needed confession. "I will rest in heaven," he said. The year 1940 came. Europe was burning in the flames of the Second World War. Padua was a frequent target of bombing. People were in panic. One day, while sirens wailed, the Capuchin brothers asked Father Leopold, "Father, will our monastery be hit?" He closed his eyes, sighed, and said prophetic words. "Unfortunately, yes. The monastery will be heavily hit and destroyed. But do not fear for my confessional. It will remain intact. In it, God has shown too much mercy to allow it to disappear." And it happened exactly like that. On the 14th of May, 1944, 2 years after his death, 5 heavy bombs fell on the Capuchin monastery in Padua. The church, the choir, the monks' rooms, everything was leveled to the ground. But there, amidst the pile of stones and dust, stood the small wooden confessional of Father Leopold, without a single scratch, as a silent witness that love is stronger than destruction, that mercy is stronger than war. Towards the end of his life, illness completely exhausted him. He was 76 years old. Esophageal cancer did not allow him to eat. He could barely swallow a drop of water, but he still confessed. On the 30th of July, 1942, in the early morning, while preparing for Holy Mass, he collapsed in the sacristy. The brothers carried him to his cell. He knew the end had come. There was no fear in his eyes, only peace. While the brothers around him prayed, "Hail, Holy Queen," he quietly moved his lips, coming to the words, "O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary." He took his last breath and moved into eternity. The news of his death swept through Padua with lightning speed. "A saint has died. Our Father Leopold has died," people shouted in the streets. Thousands flocked to the monastery to see his body. Although it was summer, great heat, his body showed no signs of decay. He looked as if he were sleeping, with a gentle smile on his face. His hands, which in life had been cramped, were now relaxed and soft, ready to embrace the world once more. Miracles continued even after his death. His tomb in Padua became a place of pilgrimage for millions of people. Thousands of healings, conversions, and answered prayers were recorded. Pope Paul VI proclaimed him blessed in 1976, calling him a precursor of spiritual ecumenism. And then, on the 16th of October, 1983, Pope John Paul II proclaimed him a saint. It was a magnificent day for the whole church, and especially for his Croatian people. Little Bogdan from Herceg Novi became Saint Leopold, a universal saint of the Catholic Church. When his incorrupt body arrived in Croatia, hundreds of thousands of people waited for hours, in rain and cold, just to touch him, to see him. Why? What attracts people to that small body more than a century old? They are attracted by the same love he radiated during his life. They feel that he is not dead, that he is there, listening. Even today, if you go to Padua, you will see his confessional, and you will see people leaving letters, pictures of their sick, their thanks in it. Saint Leopold Bogdan Mandić was not a man of big words, but of a big heart. He proved that greatness is not measured in centimeters of height, but in the depth of love. He proved that the greatest battles are not fought with swords, but with a rosary in hand and a gentle word of comfort. He was and remains a doctor of human souls. And today he tells us the same thing he told his penitents. Have faith. God is the doctor and the medicine. There is no wound that his love cannot heal. If you have a burden on your soul, if you seek peace, remember the little Capuchin from Boka. He is waiting for you. He knows your story, and he loves you.